After everything that had happened, the divorce, the custody hearing, the nanny hired to spy on us, I thought I knew exactly what to expect from my ex-wife. I was wrong. Because on Jake's 9th birthday, Emily showed up at my front door, uninvited,
holding a box that would change the way I understood our entire history together. My name is Ryan Mitchell.
And this is the story of the day I learned that people can surprise you, even after they've hurt you the most.
Jake's birthday party was small, just the way he liked it. A handful of friends from school, balloons taped haphazardly to the fence by Sarah and me the night before, and a homemade cake that Priya, our nanny, had helped Jake decorate himself. Everything was going exactly as planned. Jake was laughing, chasing his friends around the backyard in a cape he insisted on wearing all day. For a moment, watching him, I let myself feel something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Then the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone else. Sarah glanced at me, confused, as I walked to answer it. Emily stood on the porch, a small, wrapped box in her hands, looking more nervous than I'd ever seen her. "I know I should have called first," she said quickly, before I could speak. "I know today isn't my day. I needed to see him. Please, Ryan, 5 minutes. Every instinct told me to say no. After the custody hearing, after the nanny, after months of feeling like I was constantly bracing for her next move. Trust wasn't something I handed out easily anymore, especially not on Jake's birthday. "Emily, this isn't the time. You know the arrangement." "I know," she said, her voice cracking slightly. "I'm not here to cause problems. I promise you that. I have something for him, something I should have given him a long time ago." Behind me, I heard small footsteps. Jake had noticed the voices and come around the corner, still in his cape, his excitement fading into confusion at the sight of his mother standing at the door. "Mom?" Emily's eyes filled with tears at just the sound of his voice. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. I know I wasn't invited. I just wanted to give you something." I looked at Jake's face, hopeful, cautious, the same complicated look he always wore around his mother lately. And I made a decision. "5 minutes," I said quietly. "Out here, that's it." Emily knelt down to Jake's level and handed him the small wrapped box. He opened it carefully, the way he opened everything now, with a kind of guarded curiosity that broke my heart a little every time I noticed it. Inside was an old photo album, worn at the edges, filled with pictures I had genuinely never seen before. Photos of Emily, pregnant, standing in front of the house we used to live in. A photo of her in a hospital bed, exhausted and radiant, holding a newborn Jake for the first time. Pages and pages of moments, first steps, first words, first day of preschool, documented with handwritten notes in the margins. "I started this album before you were even born," Emily told him, her voice thick with emotion. "I wanted you to have it, all of it, even the parts that came after things got hard between me and your dad." Jake flipped slowly through the pages, and I found myself looking over his shoulder despite myself. There were photos I remembered taking, moments I remembered living, but seeing them curated this way, seeing the care in every handwritten caption, showed me a side of Emily I'd almost forgotten existed. Near the back of the album was a folded letter, tucked into a small envelope with Jake's name written on the front in Emily's handwriting. "You don't have to read it now," Emily said, "or ever if you don't want to. But I needed to write it down. Some things are easier to say on paper." Jake looked up at me, silently asking permission. I nodded. He opened the letter and began reading aloud, slowly, sounding out a few of the bigger words. Dear Jake, I know these last 2 years have been confusing. I know I've made choices that hurt you and your dad, even when I didn't mean to. I've been going to therapy for the last 4 months, working on understanding why I did some of the things I did, including asking you to keep secrets that weren't fair for a kid to carry. I am so sorry for that. You should never have been put in that position, and it wasn't your job to fix what was broken between the grown-ups. I love you more than anything in this world, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the kind of mom who deserves your trust again. Happy 9th birthday, my brave, wonderful boy. Jake folded the letter carefully and looked up at his mother, his eyes wet. You've been going to a doctor for your feelings? A therapist, yes, Emily said gently. Someone who helps me understand why I sometimes make choices that hurt the people I love most, even when that's the last thing I want to do. I stood there, quiet, processing what I was hearing. This wasn't the Emily who had coached our son to lie in a courtroom. This wasn't the Emily who had hired someone to spy on our home. Something had genuinely shifted. Ryan, she said, turning to me, I'm not asking for anything today. Not more time, not a different custody arrangement, nothing. I just needed Jake to know I'm working on being better. And I needed you to know I'm not the same person who did those things last year. I don't expect you to trust that yet. I just wanted to start somewhere honest. For the first time since our divorce, I didn't feel anger when I looked at her. I felt something closer to cautious hope. Emily didn't stay for cake. She hugged Jake goodbye, told him she loved him, and left the way she'd come. Quietly, without pushing for more than the 5 minutes I'd offered. Jake carried the photo album back to the backyard, sitting with it on his lap for a while, flipping through pages even as his friends called him back to the party games. Sarah sat down beside him, glancing at a few pictures with him, careful not to make it about herself. Later, when Jake had rejoined his friends, she found me by the drink table. How are you doing with all that? She asked. Honestly, I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to stay guarded. After everything, that seems smart. But another part of me, I think Jake needs to see that people can actually change. Not perfectly, not all at once, but genuinely. That night, after the party wound down and Jake fell asleep, still clutching the photo album, I sat on the porch and thought about everything that had led to this moment. The homecoming, the custody battle, the nanny, and now, unexpectedly, this small crack of light. I don't know exactly what Emily and I will become to each other going forward. Co-parents cautiously rebuilding trust, one honest gesture at a time, is probably the most accurate answer. If you've ever had to decide whether to let someone back in, even a little, after they've hurt you, if you've ever watched someone try to change and wondered whether to believe it, I want you to know you don't have to trust all at once. Sometimes you just have to leave the door open enough to see what someone does next. If this story moved you, let me know in the comments. And if you have a story of your own, share it below. It might just become our next episode. This is Silent Love, and this was a story about the slow, uncertain work of forgiveness.